How gratitude has a way of turning what you have into more than enough. It's the 31st of December. This time last year, the team was doing a lot of planning and putting together things to bring you the best perfect morning starter on national television. And it's the 31st of December as we approach this day with a sense of tremendous gratitude. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka, and of course I'm here with my small, little older brother.
Well, I'm way older than that, so let's just be clear. But almost thank you, as Bukola said. Thank you so much. It's been exactly 1 year, or about 1 year since we started off the Morning Brief, and it's been quite a journey because you've been there with us. So thank you so much. It's the last day
of
in
the
year 2024. So we're now counting hours to a brand new year. Several cities around the world, and in Nigeria, Lagos, Oyo, Kano, everybody is getting set for that countdown hour to usher in 2025. What does it hold for all of us? We hope it holds great things for all of us. So we must thank you and thank everyone for being part of the program, as always, and we will continue to do our best to serve you when you wake up in the morning to have the most beautiful breakfast show right here on television around Africa and across the world. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Welcome.
And I am Bukola Koka.
You forgot your
I forgot to mention that. But speaking of gratitude, Jeffrey, we approach today also with a sense of gratitude, especially because the Warri Refinery has taken off. And we saw yesterday the Group Managing Director of the NNPCL leading stakeholders and indeed men of the press around the facility. And we know now that it is producing AGO and kerosene when it will naphtha. When it will begin producing petrol, I guess that will be told in the coming days. And you know, this comes just about a month after the takeoff of the Port Harcourt refinery. That would be, is it the 450,000? 60,000 barrels
the old
per day.
60,000.
Yeah, old 60,000 barrels per day capacity. But while we are grateful, you know, for this recent development, a landmark, by the way, because it's taking off, you know, after a very long time since, you know, operations ended at that refinery. The concern is that, you know, the emergence of these refineries, the recommencement of operations of these refineries has not particularly translated into the reduction of petrol prices. And, you know, the calculations of landing cost of, you know, petrol in the international community, the price of petrol in the international community, you know, has not particularly added up to, you know, what is happening back home. So we require, you know, more transparency in that sector, more explanations from regulators of that sector, because if Nigeria, you know, is showing off that it is now has restored its glory as a major oil producer of the country, then what is the benefit, you know, to its citizens of this commonwealth that is owned by the citizens, by the nation itself? If the citizens are not benefiting, then we wonder, you know, why we carry that toga.
There's a lot I have to say as far as the refinery is concerned, but I'm going to hold my thoughts. But congratulations to everyone involved in all of this. But I think the NNPCL has learned a few lessons, one of which is the fact that they've decided to keep their mouth a bit, not to talk too much, just to come with news. And they've been a bit clearer this time. They say they are producing naphtha, kerosene, and AGO. You know, in Port Harcourt, they were not clear. They didn't tell us the exact truth until we found out for ourselves that they were blending naphtha with C5. Whether that still continues, I do not know. As far as this Warri Refinery is concerned, they cannot produce PMS directly from crude. So I'm happy they are learning their lessons, but there are other things we also have to investigate as far as all of these refineries are concerned. But I'm going to hold my brief. But congratulations to everyone involved in all of this. But we must also talk about the issue of the Southeast security. We started off that conversation yesterday, and we're going to follow through with that conversation today as we'll talk about enhancing community policing. The security authorities in that state will be joining us. Yesterday, we explored the issue of security and impact on the economy. This time we hear from the authorities themselves, Bukola.
Yeah, we're not forgetting that we'll also be exploring the commencement of operations of the Warri Refinery. And besides that, we'll be delving into family life this morning on the show. Balancing family life and work while being a creative can be a daunting task. So we'll be getting more insights from Monica Enonye, a creative visionary and a family woman.
Okay, so family inspires creativity. Let's explore that conversation and know what this is really all about. But besides that, we have a chat with Skillon, who is an Afrobeat artist, later on the show. So it's a packed conversation. I know Dirty December has come and is over. It's a brand new year coming through in a question of hours. And so many things happening, good, bad, and the ugly. So we'll celebrate all of it and learn lessons from the ones we couldn't change. Okay, so that's exactly how the show will play out today, this morning, right here on the Morning Brief. But don't forget, you can be part of the conversation. All you have to do is go to X, our social media of choice. Post your comments, post your thoughts, even your videos. As much as we can, we'll amplify your voice right here on the show. The WhatsApp number should be scrolling. Yeah, that's the number. Messages and videos only. Those are the specific information, specifics that you need to have. Send your messages, send your videos, and we'll help you amplify your voice. So what is it you're saying about everything that is going on across the country? Talk to us about it, because I listen to the radio. Some people say, until I see, some people are saying, until I see the refinery myself working, I'm not going to believe it. You won't blame them. The NNPC had a very terrible legacy in terms of transparency, from their account to issue of their debt, to issue of the deadline to resume refinery. There are a couple of things. So even when the NNPC is saying, look at water, it is white, Nigerians are saying, you lie, except I touch it for myself.
And I saw firsthand yesterday how Nigerians would rather go for a mere 50 naira reduction or 70 naira reduction in the pump price of petrol. Yeah. I saw it myself yesterday when I saw a long line of queues in front of an MRS station. MRS is in partnership with Dangote Refinery to sell petrol at 950 naira per liter. And not far down the road there is an NNPCL station, but they would rather buy 950 naira if they can get it at whatever cost.
So the good thing here is that we're now doing what we should be doing, backward integration. So if we refine crude, then the competition should start. Where is Dangote Refinery against the NNPCL? Where will let the price keep coming down until the price comes down? Nigerians will not see that refineries are working is of their own interest. They will just see that, oh, this is another propaganda. That's the way Nigerians will perceive it. But this refinery should do the best they can. Let's see how the prices crash until we have the mix of the energies. They call it the energy mix. So if you want CNG, if you want a PMS, anyone you want, but we'll continue to probe. But hey, we'll take a quick break.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll bring you your top stories, and I'll get to hear what you say on X. I especially like that part.
Stay with us.
Hours now.
We'll be right back.
Brand new year. We'll still be right back.
Welcome back. And top on the brief this morning, we start with good news. The 125 barrel per day Warri Refining and Petrochemicals Company in Warri, Delta State, is officially up and running and operating at 60% capacity. This was revealed by the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, Mr. Mele Kyari, during a tour of the facility. A breakdown shows that 60% of the 125,000 barrel per day production draws down to 75,000 barrels of crude oil per day being processed by the facility. The presidency, of course, that continues. Okay, so
we'll move on to other stories now. From the refinery to the presidency was asked the Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed to withdraw his threat to President Bola Tinubu over the tax reform bills. Governor Mohammed, while addressing the Christian community on Boxing Day in Bauchi State, has said President Tinubu was calling for anarchy if he went ahead with the proposed tax reforms. But in a statement by his advisor, and that is the advice of the president on media and public communications, Sunday Daria, shared on X, he described Mohammed's threat as inflammatory and urged him to retract his remarks and redirect his focus towards productive dialogue with the federal government.
Well, staying with the same issue now, the chairman of the Presidential Tax Reform Committee, Mr. Taiwo Yedele, has clarified that When implemented, the proposed value-added tax reform will reduce the cost of manufacturing by about 3.3%. In a post on his social media handles, he says the proposed VAT has positive implications for manufacturing, and he notes that he had to clarify questions arising from a recent meeting with the organized private sector of Nigeria. Now, the question is, how significant is a reduction of 3.3%? Well, it all goes back to the price of petrol and diesel, which has, a significant impact on the operations of the manufacturing sector. So if that goes down, then we'll be talking about a vibrant sector.
All right, we'll talk about that, but let's take you outside the country, where the death toll from a road accident in southern Ethiopia has risen to at least 71 after a vehicle carrying a wedding party veered into a river. An official from the Regional Communications Department said the driver had lost control of the freight truck, which was carrying 76 people, including those heading to the wedding and day laborers, when trying to turn a tight bend ahead of a bridge.
Let's touch on sports now. Manchester United ended 2024 to forget with a fourth consecutive defeat as Newcastle cruised to a 2-0 win at Old Trafford to intensify the scrutiny on the Red Devils' boss, Ruben Amorim. Alexander Isak and Joelinton struck inside the first 19 minutes as a fifth consecutive win lifted the Magpies into fifth position. Meanwhile, Chelsea also lost their second league game in a row, slumming 2-0 to relegation, battling Ipswich. The Blues were nailed to a defeat courtesy of a Liam Delap's penalty in the 12th minute before Omari Hutchinson sealed the win with his 52nd minute strike.
Well, and ending on the low for both clubs, but let's take you still outside the country. 5 people have been indicted in Argentina over the death of British singer Liam Payne, who fell from a Buenos Aires hotel balcony in October after consuming alcohol and drugs. Prosecutors said on Monday 3 of the 5 were charged with manslaughter and the other 2 with supplying the former One Direction pop star with illegal drugs. Prosecutors have also confirmed. Also, those are the stories we've been talking about and tracking for you in the last 24 hours up to the early hours of today. And so we'll bring you up to speed with the things you've been saying, because I know you were commenting on the refinery and all of those things and all of that. At the end of the day, I would appeal to the NNPCL that whatever they do, the most essential product that comes, as far as Nigerians are concerned, from upgrading, rehabilitating, resuscitating, whatever grammar you use to bring up a refinery, the most important product for citizens is the PMS.
Petrol.
PMS is about 73 liters of every 1 barrel of crude oil, and that is the highest in terms of the percentage of all the components that will be distillated. So if both of the refineries cannot distillate straight to PMS without blending naphtha with C5, then there's a lot of work to do. But we must celebrate the small wins. We must celebrate the small wins as far as this is concerned. So NNPCL, this is my counsel. Going into 2025, be as clear as crystal, be as transparent as possible, be as truthful. Because if there's a line between any of this, what you're doing is destroying institutions. It's not just about the individuals there. Just like there were issues with INEC, and now there's a lot of doubt when INEC does things. We cannot continue to spread institutional doubt. So do your best. Whoever is manning all of this institution, no, it's not about you. It's important we have confidence in our institution, so that when you say it's black, we believe it's black. Because right now, some people still don't believe those refineries are working, even with HE, all of that. Okay, so do your best. But we'll continue to check and hold you accountable to the best of our ability. All right.
But so what are you saying about the recommencement of operations of the Warri Refinery? A millionaire businessman is the first user this morning who says nothing was wrong with all these refineries. These are refineries some said will never work. Suddenly, because Dangote completed his refinery, they want to frustrate him.
That's a great angle.
That's a great angle to look at it, Jeffrey. And it speaks to the trust quotient.
As well, I knew what this guy wanted to say.
That we've been talking about all these while.
I never thought about it.
Just as some people would say that, look, there's nothing like subsidy, that the monies were being siphoned. And, it speaks a lot to the lack of prosecution that we have seen in that space, even after the end of the subsidy regime, which everybody, agreed was, 90% of the time said was a scam.
So there are two things to it. I like this angle that all of a sudden, although I know that the timeline for some of this rehabilitation, this is around the timeline, 2 years or 2.5 years or so, but all of a sudden the refineries are working because Dangote is okay. I like that angle. So that speaks to competition on one hand. So it's important that we posit all of this at the end of the day to know whether this was possible or not. So I also believe that we should not have one supplier. We should have as many suppliers in the market because that's the only way prices will come down. So if I even want more private refineries or other refineries to come up. So this one, you see what happened with Dangote. Dangote brought down the price. NNPC had to bring down the price. So if we have another one that brings down the price lesser than all of them, so it keeps going down, you know, and it's to the benefit of all of us. So let's read your thoughts. No Lele G says, I hope this is true. When PH and Warri Refinery working, I don't think we need to import refined products again. At least we have Dangote Refinery nearby. If we're short of demand, I hope Naira should appreciate in the coming weeks. Yes, that's another indicator. And the price of petrol reduced drastically. That's another indicator, Bukola, because FX for all the importation of PMS hits about 30 to 35%. That's the pressure it puts on our FX, which is why the Naira is down.
So 30% off of the pressure on Forex.
Hopefully.
So we hope that Naira strengthens in the coming days.
Absolutely.
But then again, Jeffrey,
coming months, we should say.
Well, maybe I'm too optimistic. But you know, there's another part of the conversation. Yeah. Anytime FAC allocation is reduced, we see that the Naira is released. We see that the value of the Naira, you know, drops significantly against the dollar.
Politicians are changing it.
And you know, the CBN governor has spoken to that, you know, a few months down the line after the Monetary Policy Committee meeting.
Okay.
But what has been done in that space? Let's go to the next user this morning, who is Triple Progress. Good one, he says, or they say. I hope it will have effect on the ordinary Nigerians in terms of reduction in the price, I believe you mean to say, of basic essential goods, because that's the major concern of Nigerians.
Afolabi says, wow, Nigeria will be great under President Bola Tinubu's administration for the benefits of all of us of Nigeria. We're getting there little by little. Glory to God, hallelujah. So we must thank two presidents on this one. One on President Bola Tinubu, because this is his time, it happened, but I think bigger credits to go to Muhammadu Buhari, because this couldn't have just happened.
But you know, that some are scrutinizing the interest behind all of these things, so we wonder whether we should say thank you, or we should just, as we say in Nigerian parlance, see, don't look.
Thank you to doing your job is not really a thing, but just commend them for what they do. It's what they are supposed to do anyway. ASU threatening to declare strike in January over unfulfilled promises. Oh my God, what a year.
So, the issues in that space are far from over. They have not been resolved.
Okay.
So the first speaker here is Emirati, who says, this has turned a pandemic in the Nigerian academic history. Soon Labour will join the strike and later Labour will be called. Envelopes will exchange hands and strike is called off. I guess January money don't they hungry them.
Okay, so let's just
get... A lot of skepticism there, Jeffrey.
So let's get to one more before we leave the ex. President Bola Tinubu approving the establishment of a federal university in Southern Kaduna. I think this is quite great. Those people in Southern Kaduna, they've gone through hell and warm waters, from killings and some people will say it borders on carnage. And you know, if you know Southern Kaduna, they've been through a lot. So this is a step in the right direction, I guess. Chelsea Plug says, is that even necessary? What purpose will it serve? The old institution not well taken care of. Well, I don't know details about what institutions are there.
Well, there is that concern about the matter of the needless proliferation of universities, especially when the ones, you know, on ground have not been well taken care of. You know, we just talked about ASU threatening to go on strike because of unresolved issues. So why add another one into the mix? But, you know, this also comes with the concern, you know, the age-long agitation about representation. And when you talk about Southern Kaduna, you can also talk about the concern there, you know, about the need for delineation of constituencies so that they can have more polling units during electioneering periods to vote. You know, so there are a lot of issues in the mix, and it requires visionary leadership to address it.
So, Pukola, for context, so let me also tell you that the politics of 2027 has started.
already.
So there's a politics of rhetorics, there's a politics of performance already going on. So everybody's trying to put what they'll use as a campaign promise. That's why a lot of people are a bit skeptical about some of the development. But our job as media is to tell you the truth. If we see the truth, we'll tell you. If they are lying, we will tell you. Trust us, we'll do that.
Okay, but what are you saying?
Objectivity, truth, and trust is what we stand for, okay?
So beyond what we're saying on the side of the divide, what are you saying?
I think we don't have any more time.
Okay, we don't have any more time.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to the very first conversation as far as development in the country is concerned. Stay with us.
Welcome back. And so the year is ending on a note of optimism, particularly with the recommencement of operation of the 125,000 barrel per day capacity Warri Refinery yesterday. And that's the first leg, the heart of the first leg of our conversation on the program this morning, as it comes with a lot of optimism about job creation, about injecting a lot of increase in the economy for the pump price of petrol. So what are the quick gains for the recommencement of operations of the Warri Refinery? Starting off this conversation this morning, we have Mr. Olabode Showumi, who is an energy analyst and CEO, Captree Limited, who joins us virtually. We also have Dr. Omonigo Otanocha. He's the Associate Professor of the Advanced Manufacturing Engineering Department of Mechanical and Colonel College of Engineering and Tech, Federal University of Petroleum Resources, Efuru, Delta State. We also have joining us economist Mr. Paul Alaji, who joins us via Zoom from Abuja. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the program. Of course, there are a lot of concerns about the news coming in from the NNPCL Limited about the recommencement of operations of the Warri Refinery. But let's start with the quick wins, particularly, projections about the reduction in the pump price of petrol, and of course, the optimism about the production of crude oil. Yes, that's what I was trying to remember earlier on, crude oil for the manufacturing sector and the production of kerosene. So what are your projections about the production of these, products, from crude oil for the economy, for the manufacturing sector, and for commerce in the country? Okay, I'm going to start with Mr. Paul Alaji.
Thank you so very much. A beautiful morning to you. It's good news that we saw that Warri Refinery started operation, about 60% capacity, according to the Managing Director at NPCL. And he has also mentioned that the two key products they are on now, one is diesel, about 1.9 million barrels a day, and the second one has to do with kerosene, about 4.9 million million liters, I beg your pardon. Diesel about 1.9 million liters, and kerosene about 4.9 million liters. That is what they are looking at. He also had promised that in the coming days, we might be seeing increase in production of PML. Recall that 60,000 capacity refinery, which is at Port Harcourt, was also mentioned to have come back to the stream early in December, even though we first heard that around November. In December, so barely a month in between, we're seeing the second government-owned refinery coming into the stream. And the argument has been that this refinery will come to reduce the gap that we have. The projection here is that this will have impact on products, it will have impact on cost of diesel, it will also have impact when PMS they started refining. By the time they start refining, it will have impact on cost of on cost of petrol, that is PMS, people put in their vehicles and use for other reasons. Now, the projection is that this price will be significant. For me, as an economist, it's a good one, so we must commend it, because when government is not doing well, we criticize some of those. So first of all, let me say this in that this is really commendable. But this is what we look at. You see, production is about supply chain. What is the guarantee for crude? We understand that the Dangote Refinery still imported crude for a 650,000 barrels refinery. Now, for the smaller refineries, this Warri Refinery, 125,000 barrels crude, and the 65,000 barrel crude, refineries that we have in Port Harcourt. What is the guarantee that we are going to have crude for this refinery in the light of the fact that we have forward pledged some of our crude to those who are giving us loans? So for me, if you are able to plan it from end to end, that's from the creek or from the exploration to making available in the filling station, then we can say that we can deal with the supply side challenge. So, but as of today, it is good that we have this. We know that for manufacturing, you need to work on this for quite some time, maybe weeks, maybe months, and see that you are steadily able to produce consistently. And because this refinery has been shut down for nearly a decade, then if you are able to do that, then you are sure that you can deal with the pricing issue. If we say that the price will come down significantly now because there is trust deficit when it comes to NNPCL among few other government agencies, it is good that we have this on board, but how is it translating to price of, to the price that we are getting the product at the filling station? It's a conversation many Nigerians seem to be interested in.
Mr. Shomi, I'm going to come to you for the same question, and I'm sure you have some, reactions to what Mr. Alaji has said, particularly with the projections about the reduction in price of the products that are immediately being produced on the manufacturing sector, which would be AGO and kerosene.
Okay, thank you. Once again, good morning to you, and compliments of the season. There's no magic to it. Just like Alaji, who's an economist, has mentioned, there are supply chain issues, there are economic considerations, and these considerations has to be made by the operators. I think, to my mind, one of the things that we need to look at is the limitation of Nigeria as an entity to supply the amount of crude oil that is expected. A couple of months ago, Nigeria was just producing about 1.4 million liters, 1.4 million barrels per day. Fortunately, that has increased, but not astronomically. I think we're still less than 2 million barrels per day. Now, in that amount of crude, less than 3/4 of that belongs to us. In fact, let's say 55% of that will come to us because of the agreements that are related to it, either as JV agreements or production sharing contract agreements. Now, out of that as well, previous government has already taken some loans on it, and so a significant part of that, even though have not been produced, is going to go into loan servicing. And then when we now get to the rest, we are now going to have some things that we are going to use for servicing of daily things. They're going to pay salaries, and so we're not looking at a lot more than even 300,000 barrels that is available to Nigerians, and out of which we shared across. So basically, Nigeria cannot meet the total demand that is being expected by those refineries, and that includes Dangote, it includes NNPCL themselves, and that's why it is a global business, really. So basically, there will still be the need for some importation until there is a greater capacity and more investment is made in the upstream side of the business, which has totally nothing to do with refining. So once that is done, the rest has to do with operational excellence, and then how they're able to better what they do. It should be understood that they cannot run at a loss, because nobody is supporting them. Subsidy is gone even for NNPC. So whatever they are going to do, what the competition will do really is to make the best possible price available to Nigerians. And because there's competition, they won't be able to have unfair profit on Nigerians. And it means that there's going to be innovation, better services. And one of the innovations I believe that we saw is the fact that for the very first time in a very long time, there isn't artificial scarcity in the Christmas period. More importantly, there are innovations to reduce prices, which first started commendably by the Dangote Refinery and was followed on by NNPC themselves. So those are the kind of things that Nigerians will expect. But in terms of the reduction of the price to 200 naira or 300 naira, based on the current price of crude oil, I am not an expert in economics, but I sincerely doubt that will be achieved. So that would be my comment on that.
All right, let's bring it to Dr. Otanucha. The two gentlemen have spoken to something quite critical. So on one hand, we're dealing with importation of finished product, which is PMS. And now the NNPC is saying, look, we're getting to a point of energy security and net exporter of petroleum products. But we have a challenge because we borrowed way into our future with these crude-backed loans. What do you see playing out? Because this is an international commodity. Now we may have to be importing crude to be able to service all of these refineries because the ones we produce here are not just enough and there are not enough investment. As a matter of fact, we're producing crude, core crude is just about let's just call it 1.5 million barrels, just slightly less than that. When you add things like condensate, you can now get to 1.8. I want you to speak to that, Doctor.
I want to thank you for bringing me on. Good morning, Nigerians. First and foremost, it's good news that Area 1, which is Zone 1 in the WROPC, is on stream to produce the AGO, which is the fuel of the industry. But talking about PMS, that might not be too much. Maybe we'll have to wait in the next 4, 5, 6 months for PMS to be available, which is common for Nigerians. When you hear people say, I'm going to buy fuel, it's usually PMS. So that might not translate to good news to them for now because it's AGO. Then talking about the question you mentioned, the previous speakers have spoken very, very well. But I just want to mention, the last speaker mentioned about they will always make gain. No, on the contrary, refinery business is more of marginal gains. There's not much gain in it. So that's why most people want to invest in production of crude and sell in dollars and make their money. But when you want to refine in naira, buy crude, refine in naira and sell, it's not that economically lucrative for investors. So that's why they need to be incentives. That's why they need to look at petrochemicals. That's where Warri Refinery has an advantage. You have an FCCU, and they also have carbon black unit. These are petrochemicals that can add more value to the business. So the easiest way to go, when I say easiest way, that's there's a presidential committee. I mentioned this in one of your programs and channels. There was a presidential committee by the Tinubu administration under the chief of staff, Bajamiala, through the Minister of Petroleum Resources. A lot of recommendations were made to the federal government. And then also recently in Delta State, Asaba, there was the 8th meeting of the National Council on Hydrocarbons, where my university, FUPRI, proposed that we should go community-wise. There are a lot of capped marginal fields, and there are also new fields that are supposed to come on board. Now, if they are incentivized, leveraging on the PIA, communities-oriented entities can own assets and quickly ramp up production. I am of the view, as espoused yesterday by the economy, there was a professor of petroleum economics that was on board yesterday on channels, who mentioned that we should strive to hit 4 million barrels per day. Is it possible? Why, technically speaking, it's possible. All we need is leadership. Once there is leadership in the industry, some level of transparency, then communities can be involved. This will stop issues of oil theft, crude pipelines tampering, and then communities will be involved in the business and farm in investments. We all know the economists have spoken. I think they will also buttress the point that a lot of foreign direct investment is going to dwindle. So we need a resilient oil and gas industry in Nigeria. That means some of our materials that are used for refinery, especially the parts, For example, the columns, they use materials like Iconel 316 and other variants. We need to start producing them in Nigeria to support the local refinery. And the right way to go is produce crude community-based, let them go into assets, let them farm in their own equities, and then own some percentage of these assets. That means they will protect the business, and there will be more crude availability, crude oil theft to go down, and then there will be more availability to take care of the foreign loans that we have taken, and also make enough for local refineries to progress. One of the presenters, the first speaker mentioned whether there will be crude availability. That's a very big problem, because ask yourself, if you're in business and you're able to produce crude and just sell, then you now look at selling dollars, then you want to sell in naira within Nigeria. It doesn't look lucrative for businesses. So they need to be incentivized. For example, they can be given some priorities, tax waivers, and also be given waivers. There are some oil mining licenses that were just recently released, according to what I saw in the news. And those people need to be encouraged to start to go into production. And then universities, especially the Federal University of Petroleum Resources, even ABU Zaria, University of Port Harcourt, where most of these fields are, should be encouraged to be equity holders, to be part of the businesses in this area, where you can have what they call the triple helix coming together to manage these businesses. That way, we have a possibility of ensuring energy security in our country. Because from the university, you have R&D, research and development. Without research and development, you are going nowhere. So research and development will bring out innovative ideas to bring down cost of operations, cost of production, so that there will be enough money for investors. These are the few ideas that I have, because this is what my university stands for. We made a memo to the 8th Council on the National Council on Hydrocarbons in Delta State recently, and they were clearly stated out there. It was well taken by the council, and we expect action. We can be called to put our boots on ground and get things working. Thank you.
Let's take it to Mr. Alaje. Mr. Alaje said, the doctor has said a lot of things. I would like you to react to some of the things he has said, whether you agree or not, especially that has to do with this is a bit of a dilemma that we may find ourselves given the level of supply we have. And these incentives that you're talking about, what do you see, broadly speaking? Because one of the biggest incentives for the communities that he's talked about, that I feel that the PIA provided for, but we don't know how well that has been in terms of the 3% that is supposed to go, the operating costs of these oil companies are supposed to go to the communities. I don't know how that has been effective. If that in itself, which is primary legislation backed by law, is not effective, what other incentive are we going to talk about that is believable to be able to aggregate all of the components of the industry to ramp up production, attract investors? I also like you to speak to the issue of whether this naira sales of crude oil in naira is really a game changer, or we still have a challenge with that.
Oh, thank you once again for having me. But like I mentioned earlier, the critical problem we have now that we have 2 functional refineries, even though they might not be producing a product that is ubiquitous among many consumers, which is PMS, but at least factories, which is very important, critical stakeholder of our nation, and to steer production, AGO is very, very, very critical. So, but supply is a problem. You know, in production, the origin, the most important thing in production is your source of raw material. The raw material to make sure these refineries are working remains the crude oil. How are we going to get it? Luckily, we are blessed with this, but unfortunately, due to some decisions, they may not completely be right, then we are not. A lot of persons will say that when you look at the refineries, one is just 65,000 barrels a day. The other one is about 125. Even Dangote refinery is only 650. Put all of those together. In 2024 budget, what we have there is over 1 million, nearly about 2 million barrels. In 2025 budget, we have about 2 million barrels. What people should know is that those millions that government write does not belong, everything does not belong to us. We have agreements with those who are actually exploring it, which is not in federation. So when those people exploit crude, percentage that belongs to government and they have sold is what goes to government. The remaining goes to those who have invested in the sector, and we know them. These multinational, these international oil companies, they own them. That on one side. On the second side, there are a lot of fields that are not yet maximized, that we have not started work on them. Even as close by as one within Lagos or axis, there are quite a number of fields that Nigeria need to work on. Whatever it will take to put investment on the supply side, because it's a matter of time. If we have major issue around any area of production, such that supply stops flowing, the truth is that the refineries will go down. So how do we guarantee supply to the refinery? This is what those in authority, NNPCL, regarding us upstream, this is what they should be thinking about. This is what they should guarantee, because if you build more factory, it will just be like rice. We build more factory, but we are not having paddy. What happens? Factories have started shutting down, price of rice has started going up. Meanwhile, government is still trying to give rice to the people at a very expensive rate. You and I know what the rate was last year. You know what the rate is, so that we don't drive these refineries to that narrative of the primary source of raw material. If you talk about community owning, I say nothing wrong. If we can work with what will be the ratio of community, that means they want to either buy a field, individuals have field, companies have field. So they want to buy a field and they want to expand, they have the technology to do it. Then it's fine. Again, those that have non-functional field, what is government doing about it? Because more than any other time, we need functional fields right now. And there are some fields that have been exhausted. There are other fields we need to look at. So these are things I think those in authority should consider, so that our output from the source, talking about crude oil, would improve, and we can take all of these into the refineries, improve on our output, such that our factories will become functional in terms of availability of product, and supply side will eventually drive down demand. This is what I see in the coming days. Yes, some of these refineries will come, and let's also put that there are other smaller refineries, by the way. I think about 6 or 7 of them that came to the base, about 6 of them. One has 1,000 capacity, 5,000 capacity, because the capacity is not that significant. So we are not talking about them. And many of them are privately owned.
All right.
You know, from...
Yeah, pardon me, that is the expectation, but there's another part of the conversation that is just as critical, and which we spoke to at the start of the program. This time around, the honesty of the NNPCL that the Warri Refinery is producing AGO and kerosene as against the Port Harcourt Refinery that was announced to be refining crude, but somewhere down the line, there were allegations that it is only blending naphtha and another component of petrol. But that brings cause for reflection on the amount that has been spent on the revamping of the refineries. Some are quoting $19 billion spent on the entire refinery. But when we see what other countries have spent on building a refinery, Angola, for instance, what is being quoted for the refinery is $1.5 billion Cabinda refinery. So the question is, has the money spent on these refineries, have they been justified? I'm bringing that question to you, Mr. Showumi.
Okay. I think sometimes when we do this analysis, we also don't help all of us with the very first question, which is the issue about trust. I think a couple of years ago, there was something in the news about, I think it was the Obasanjo government or so, that they have spent a few billions on power and electricity. But what they were actually talking about was the budget for power across about 10 years or something like that. So when we say that we have spent 15 billion or whatever amount that they are talking about the amount that has been spent on the refinery, I think, across almost 20 or 30 years. That cannot be an apple for apple comparison when you are comparing with that of Angola. That's the first thing. So if you were to make an analysis, you will be able to compare analysis either in terms of the investment across the same time, and then you will now be speaking to something of proper comparison. The second part, which is on the issue of believability and credibility, is that when information is being passed, like issue about blending, some of it were based on some amount of ignorance, and some of it was also based on the fact that they were not completely.
All right, so many sides to this conversation, but we must thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time on the program. We've been talking with Mr. Olabode Shomi, energy analyst and CEO Captree Limited, who joined us via Zoom. Dr. Monigo Otanucha, who is also an associate professor of advanced manufacturing engineering, joined us from Delta State, while Mr. Paul Alaje, economist, joined us from Abuja. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time, and we hope that those positive projections about the recommencement of operations of the Warri Refinery will materialize in the coming days. When we return, we'll bring you more on the program. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's continue the conversation, but this time we're focusing on security. We started off yesterday. It was Monday, and we talked about the sit-at-home order by a proscribed IPOB, enhanced by ESN, and we looked at the security as well as the economic dimension. Today, let's speak to the authorities. The Commissioner of Police in Anambra State joins us. Mr. Obono Nagbe Itam joins us from his office in Oka. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Commissioner, we had an extensive conversation with two sets of people yesterday, people that are doing businesses in Anambra, as well as other people who understand a bit of security as far as Nigerian security is concerned. Maybe you bring us up to speed, but there was a consensus that the sit-at-home is still effective, is still being carried out, despite assurances from government. So maybe you give us an overview of how the police is handling all of this. Does the police also go out to work on Mondays?
Thank you again, like I said, for having me. Absolutely, the police go to work on Mondays.
Yes, I was saying. Go ahead, please.
It's not the federal government that proclaimed the sit-at-home. And so we do our work like other federal agencies that are in the state. And of course, we encourage the people to also take back their space and not give credit to the so-called IPOB and those who are claiming that they want to establish the sovereign state of Biafra. So what we do, we continue with our patrols. We check all entrance and exits in the states. We work collaboratively with all other sister security agencies, the Army, the Navy, the Civil Defense, the road safety, the prisons. And over time, what we are actually praying for and advocating for is for the people themselves, to come out, go about their lawful businesses. And then those who have made these illegal decrees will know that the people are not supporting them. But as much as they continue to stay back on Mondays, the people will think that they are succeeding.
Commissioner, the people are not armed. You are armed, and even some of your men are killed engaging ESN. So I'm wondering how you want the people to come out even when the police is quote-unquote at risk because of the engagement we have. So in your view, what is really going to be a way to begin to work this back? So the days where people can go out on a Monday in a state like Anambra, which is quite industrious, places like Nnewi, because apparently the efforts of the police, the military, and even the government seem not to be working.
Now, this is why I said the people need to take back their state. Beyond crime, beyond saying that the state is a scene of crime, Anambra State today is a state that is at war with itself. And so when a state is at war with itself, it is the people that must take responsibility to end the war. One, the information about where these people are coming from. There's nothing like unknown gunmen, as far as I'm concerned, as far as we are concerned. The people who are involved, who are attacking security forces, who are enforcing sit at home, who are killing their own people, they are their brothers, they are their friends, they are their husbands, they know them. They don't live in any forest, they live in their houses. They support them. They take oaths with them. They even see the police and the federal security agencies as if they are the ones that are the criminals among them, when in actual fact, it is their own people who are warring against them. And so, what we are saying first and foremost, there must be a buy-in from the elites, from the political leaders, from traditional rulers, from community leaders, that what is going on is criminal. And it must stop. And so for it to stop, we must all with the people accept that what is going on is wrong. As long as there is the uncommon silence and acceptance that they are fighting for them, supporting them, giving them money. You want to do a burial, they say you pay us 10 million. If you don't pay us, you won't do the burial. They give them the money. And they will never tell the police, they will not tell any security agency, they will not give information. When they refuse to give the money, they come, they kill them. And when they kill them, police takes the blame. This has to stop.
But Commissioner, to bring back our conversation yesterday into this mix, some of the business owners say that even if you went out, following through with what the state government has said, that you should come out and do your businesses, your security is guaranteed, that there are no policemen on ground. At least I can remember that from one of the conversations that we had yesterday. So is it a challenge of capacity? Because if the people are saying that there are no policemen on ground to ensure the safety of life and property if they come out on the Monday sit at home, then they would rather not come out, because they would rather be alive, to do their businesses than risk their lives. So is it a challenge of capacity on the part of the police command in Anambra specifically, for instance?
Now, let's get this straight. By the provisions of the amended Police Act 2020 in section 113, it empowers the Commissioner of Police to establish policing committees as a way of involving the communities in designing measures, enforcing the law, providing safety and security. It's born out of the understanding that the number of police personnel, first, police cannot be everywhere. If you have a state, for example, like Anambra State, with about just 3,000, active policemen, if you add the tactical units, maybe the PMF, the CTU and others, you have around 4,000. Even if you deploy them in the entire state, they won't be available in every village in the number that we think will be sufficient for them, to feel safe. So the law allows the police, through the Commissioner of Police, to get as many people as are willing to collaborate and partner with the police to come out, of course, receive training from the police, and together we can ensure that the communities are safe. So, I will still say it. Even if we were to have the 10,000, 12,000 police officers we think we have, we will still need a community partnership.
So, Honorable Commissioner, why do you think you're not getting that partnership? Because it may be a bit difficult to blame the people for whatever failure there is at the end of the day, because the Constitution empowers the authorities, which includes yourself as law enforcement officials, to be able to support and defend and protect the people, whatever term is convenient. So what is it that the authorities are doing to be able to, that is not working in terms of confidence building, that you think can be sorted out as quickly as possible? Because for us, people must go to work on Monday, but they must go to work when they know they can come back alive.
Now, like I said earlier, we've held town hall meetings. We are still holding town hall meetings. I've been through deliberately over 11 local government councils, canvassing and advocating for people to underscore the fact that they must not cooperate or collaborate with IPOB if they want us to get back their space. And so fighting alone, enforcement actions alone, shooting alone will not stop it. But if the people, one, speak against what IPOB is doing, two, come out to work with us to ensure that wherever they are fished out, like I said, because there's nobody that's unknown. They know them. Once the people who are causing this aim and this criminality, who are making gains out of the kidnapping for ransoms that they are doing, once they know that they are people, so government is
Oh dear.
Oh dear. All right, I will try to return to the police commissioner in Anambra State. A very instructive aspect of the conversation as we're getting to understand some of the issues. The police commissioner, prior to the network failure, was talking about partnership and why it seems that the police may not be securing the partnership of the people. And Jeffrey, is instructive that the police commissioner has said categorically that there is nothing like unknown gunmen, that the people know who they are, that they are within the communities themselves. And I recall he spoke about how these people who are fomenting trouble would demand payment if they want to carry out ceremonies within the community to the tune of 10 million naira. And it speaks to how instructive yet again what he has said is about a community being at war with itself. So if the people are not able to trust the police, out of fear, is reminiscent of the same conversation that we have about insurgency and terrorism and banditry in the northern part of the country, how the people have come to rely on the security provided by the insurgents as against that offered, by the state institutions themselves. We have a big problem on our hands.
Yeah, we have a bit of a challenge. I understand the commissioner is back. Commissioner, I know you were saying a couple of things, but let me just add to the things you said. It's some sort of a nuance of what you said. Does this suggest, from what you said, are you suggesting that whether implicitly, indirectly, the people, and I don't know what percentage of the people you're speaking to, sort of agree with the advocacy, if you allow me to use that word, for the creation of the Biafran nation? That is why they are pushing back on supporting the police.
Now, when people are coerced because of fear, because of what they think their people will do to them, and like I said, because of the criminal oaths they take in shrines, those who even are not willing to support them keep quiet. And the conspiracy of silence, without looking at what percentages you may think, we've not done any referendum or any statistical calculation to know what percentage of people support or don't support. But let me repeat what I said earlier. The state is at war with itself. The people take oaths, go to shrines, not to tell the police who they are or what they are doing. I repeat, they support them. And for me, the most critical part of that support is their unwillingness to give information to the police about who these persons are. But they know them.
Commissioner, do they support out of fear or any other reason that you can provide?
I think if we do a survey, and I will ask if you like, the investigative journalists to help us on that, and those who do human rights and the rest of the thing, let them do a survey and find out why exactly are they supporting.
All right.
I'm sure the police has intelligence unit to be able to find out. Journalists will do our work, but this is your responsibility. Commissioner, just a moment, just a moment, Commissioner. It sounds like the way, as I listen to you, it sounds like you're saying, look, we have done all we can do. It is now up to the people. Is that what you're saying? Is that like the police giving up on their efforts?
It's not the police giving up. We are continuing, but we insist. We need the buy-in of the community to succeed. 100%.
Okay, so I'm sure the people are listening, and there can be progress made from this point. But amid this lack of partnership that you talk about, if the capacity of the police in Anambra State is, for instance, 3,000, perhaps the police may need more strategy in its deployment. How many markets are there, for instance, in Anambra State? What would you require as deployment to ensure the safety of the people, of the traders in all the markets in Anambra State? And that also speaks to the partnership that the police has with other security agents, the NSCDC, for instance, and the army officials in Anambra State as well. So is there a synergy between the security agents in that state such that the people can be assured of their security on Monday, if indeed the state government is saying, come out and do your business?
The entire Anambra State is a marketplace. Every community, Anambra excels as a trading community. Everywhere you turn is a shop. So, yes, we have the army working with the police. Yes, we have the Navy working with the police. We have the civil defense working with the police. Short of giving you the numbers, even if you pull all those strengths together, I still say, now, beyond people, there are other infrastructure, both for law enforcement and for internal security. You need to have patrols. You need to have intelligence. You need to have all the exits and entrances covered. You need to have more like a blanket presence, because, like I said, the unknown gunmen you talked about, like I told you, are not unknown. They don't come from one community. They are spread in the entire state. They are in different cells in the entire state. They come from different homes. And the structure of the urbanization in Anambra State, everywhere you see a house, you see a farm around it, you see a bush around it. I mean, beyond Oka, the capital city, Onitsha, Nnewi, and some parts of Ekulobia, every other community, they have their bushes in between their houses. So policing this kind of environment, whether with the military or with the police, yes, we are working together. But I repeat, from the point of view of success, from the point of view of ownership, from the point of view of waking up from your house with your shop in front of your house, opening the shop for you to trade, for those who come and buy from you, and for the roads that crisscross all the villages, for people to drive freely, come to Onitsha, go to Nnewi, or come to Oka, or go to Ekulobia, and buy the things that these people are selling. We need holistically to look at Anambra State as a community, and we must all come together to say enough is enough. Let's take back our space, and we will get this thing to stop.
Honorable Commissioner, so in going forward from the government, what will you require? I know that you've mentioned time and again what is expected from the people, but that is a complex conversation, because as you're expecting from the people, people are expecting from you. I don't know whether it's a catch-22 situation here. So from the government, what would you expect?
Well, we are looking for, the governor, I think, addressed the press conference. We were there with him 2 weeks ago, and he's planning Operation Udo Gachi, and he said by January 25th, he will launch the architecture for a kind of comprehensive security architecture for both law enforcement and ensuring safer communities in the state. I think presently they are profiling vigilantes, those who will be part of the operations. For us, the federal government agencies in the state, we are ready, we are waiting. As soon as we get those things on board and the logistics, of course, we will continue to do what we know best. But even with all that, I still say we need a community to come along. And then, because they are the ones ultimately that need to feel safe and secure enough to want to come out and come out on Monday. So if we don't know what they want to make them feel that they are secure and can come and go to their shops, or they still think that they cannot come out because their brothers are fighting a just cause, I mean, they will still not come out on Monday. Now, let me say this, even if it's sarcastic. Yes, on Mondays, they don't come out. On Tuesdays, before it's 6 o'clock, there are holdups in all the roads in the state. Why are they not scared on Tuesday? It's a simple thing we need to ask ourselves.
Perhaps it's because there's no announcement of a sit-at-home on Tuesday.
They are sure they will not be attacked on Tuesday. Perhaps they are sure they will not be attacked on Tuesday. So maybe you will do that study.
We can take that confidence going forward for all the days of the week. 24/7.
Commissioner,
we want to make sure that we don't get attacked and they don't get attacked.
All right, Commissioner.
But when they take pleasure that they are killing policemen, they clap hands, they kill soldiers, they rejoice and put it on social media. It's also not encouraging. We are human beings as well.
It's a bit concerning how you're blaming the people almost throughout this conversation. But I know
I need to blame them to come out.
Okay, that is your strategy. Okay. I'm
a commissioner of police. I've been here 8 months.
But
the number of those who have called me to tell me what is happening is absolutely ridiculous. I know those I've reached out to in all the sectors, among all the stakeholders.
Again, Commissioner, we must reiterate that we need to get data on why you think that the police would rather, the people, would rather acquiesce with those fomenting trouble than trust the police to do their jobs.
So, you have to be blamed at some point, not just the people. So everybody has a share of the blame. Commissioner, we must thank you for coming. We wish you well. We hope that 2025 will reverse that trend and get back to normal Monday, just like you said.
We are working hard to reverse it.
All right.
Thank you.
Time is the Commissioner of Police. Excuse me. Thank you for coming. Bukola?
Yes, from this point we move away from security matters now onto other issues. This time we'll look at the achievement of a young Nigerian who is making giant strides in a specific field outside the country. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Indeed, we did promise you that we'll be bringing you a young Nigerian doing great things in the area of events management outside the country. But first, we'll talk family life and creativity. How important is it for you to have that, important work-life balance and still be creative? So joining us for this round of the conversation this morning is Monica Enonye, who is a family life person. Good morning and welcome to the program, Miss Enonye.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you on the program. So this is a unique field, but it affects everyone. Everyone needs to have a good work-life balance in order to be creative. It doesn't matter who you are, really. Either you are a singer, either you are, even a security person. There must be that balance on the home front. So talk to us about how you're able to achieve your own work-life balance and still retain your creativity.
Okay, so thank you for having me once again. As a fashion designer, I tend to always be creative and trying to, in the area of having to balance my work life and my family, that's where prioritizing comes in. My family is like a huge inspiration in my business. So it's something that I had to find the balance, is creating a work-life balance that that you don't have to, no one suffers. You're able to manage both in the way that whichever demand each of my work life or my family life needs, they are able to get 100% for me. So that's the way I'm able to handle it.
And so there are times, when you're flustered and perhaps you didn't wake up on the right side of the bed, or for instance there are things happening around you that do not necessarily enhance creativity. How do you manage that?
Like I said again, my kids, my husband, they play a huge role when it comes to situations like that. There are a lot of times I get tired, especially maybe with the happenings in the country. I may not be in the mood to want to create designs or do anything. They give me that push. So whatever it is that I need, that drive, I get it from my family. So each time, even I have conversations with my kids. My first daughter is always so inquisitive, so she gets to ask me questions all the time about my designs. What are you going to do today? What are you creating today, Mommy? Can I see what you're going to be working on? So all these things force my desire to always push, to always be creative.
Now, I imagine that you can really get busy as a designer. So how critical is it for, you know, other women like you to have a strong family support system to also achieve balance on the home front, particularly when you're at that period in your life where you're just rearing children, you know, they're just growing up and you need many hands on deck, you know, to keep them together while you're able to focus?
Okay, so that's why I always tell people my story. You can have the work-life balance. No one has to suffer, like none of even your work or your business or whatever it is that you're doing. This is where help comes in. No one should feel ashamed to ask for help. It takes a village to raise kids. It's not easy. So as a woman, you need that push. You need that community in order for you to be able to perform in the areas where you need to. So for me, I would advise anyone out there who is into business, you're working, yes, you will definitely get your time off, but when your attention is needed, you also have to get that support from your spouse, your family, so that you're able to be 100%. That's what I think.
So just help us, walk us through. You've talked about my children, my husband, myself, my business. So help us walk us through your typical day and how you compartmentalize your life so that you're able to accommodate everybody as much as possible. That's the first question. The second part, which is there really a 50-50 in this thing?
Yes, I would say there's a 50-50. Let me start with the first question you asked. So as a business owner, being self-employed, let me put it that way, gives me the opportunity to decide how my day would be. So being in Lagos, let's talk about the traffic and all that, sorry, excuse me. I could decide when I want to start my day. Let's say, for instance, I have to go to work. If I have to create, on my creative days, I have to be at work early. So I already know what I'm going to do the next day. I set my calendar, I plan my day, and then by the time I start, I already know what I'm going to do for each time, each moment for the day. And as soon as I'm done, whichever, if I have to go home, if I have to be there for my kids and all that, I make sure that I'm there. So I'm able to do work-life balance. It's not as easy as I say it, right? Sometimes work might be so demanding and the other area might suffer. Like you asked, it's not always 50-50 all the time, but that's where the support and understanding comes in.
So, context again. You know, when it comes to this work-life balance, especially for business people, it's a bit tricky as well. There is the part that you as a business owner, as a woman, maybe yourself, you have the resources, or your husband has the resources, or both of you have the resources to be able to get the needed help that you want so that you can have your balance, quote and unquote. But there are people who don't have these resources, but they're already in the marriage situation. How do you manage? What kind of advice will you give them?
Okay, so I'm going to use myself as an example. When I started Monaya, I was doing everything on my own. I really didn't have, like, let's say, nannies and the rest. It wasn't like that for me. I was running my business from my home. I didn't have a store there. So I had to find a way. It wasn't easy. But I believe my passion, I was so passionate about fashion designing. Growing up, I always loved to experiment with fabrics. I love to see women look good. I love looking good at the same time. So it was something that I took my time, worked from home, because I knew there was no way I had a baby then. I knew there was no way I could get a shop or do whatever it is I wanted to do out there. So because of the lack of assistance I had in terms of getting the help and all that, I had to work from home for a period of time before I was able to go out there. So I know in the beginning it might not be easy, but I feel like if you're passionate about it, you don't have to choose. You find a way around it. There's always a way around it. So while I was going through that phase, the help I was getting was from my husband and then some family members that may just pop in, come to help. For those that do not have that, I believe that the passion will come in. There's a way. There will always be a way around it. To me, there will always be a way around it. You don't have to choose between your passion and family. You don't have to.
And so while that period of a woman's life is very critical, as you reflect on it, does it advance the cause for the conversation on gender, on why at that critical period in a woman's life, she's unable to make her mark in the area of leadership or achieve the peak of her career, whatever it is, as a leader at that critical time in her life, even if she's ready mentally and physically to do it, and does it advance the conversation on gender?
So, this conversation about gender, what I have to say in terms of that is, being a mother and being a woman, we play a major role in the community, in the world. That's why you're a mother, that's why you're a woman. A lot of times people say you don't have to compromise. A lot of times they say we get to sacrifice a lot. But I, for one, I would say that if you have your plan, you know what you want to achieve, and you're with the right set of people, you have the right set of people in your life, you would always find a way around it. That is how I see it. Because I've had a couple of people ask me questions. Oh, Monica, how do you do it? I want to start. I don't know how to go about it. I don't know. My kids are not in school yet and all that. And the question I ask is, do you really, really want to go into this? Or are you doing it for yourself? Or is it that you're just, I just want to be called an entrepreneur. I just want to be in the business sector. Is this something you really want to do? Is it something you know that if you put your foot down, you're able? I'm not saying there are more consequences, don't care about family, no. I'm saying it takes dialogue. You have to sit with your partner. You have to sit with people around you and know that as a woman, you can't be sitting at home doing nothing. You have to do something. So that's where that conversation comes in. Every woman should be able to have something to say, this is what I'm doing, no matter how little it is. So you could be doing it from home. You must not have a store. To me, I feel like the way the world is right now, that conversation has to happen. As a woman, you have to have something doing. So I know a lot of times we always suffer things like, you have to take time off, especially when you just have a baby. You take that time. That maternity leave is important. You need it for yourself. But as soon as you're able to, nothing should stop you. Nothing should stop you.
So in winding down, what will be your toolkit for balance? 3. Let's stay with 3 if you can.
For balance. Okay. Like I said, 1, which is getting help. Then 2, prioritizing your family. Knowing, spending much time with them. Making sure that area is not, you don't compromise when it comes to that. You don't compromise. Then 3 is knowing what you want. Be ready. When I say ready, mentally ready. Not, I just want to try one leg in and one leg out. Sorry, don't mind my language, but be mentally ready. So those are the tips I would say.
Yeah, and I guess, that justifies the reason why we have so many days for celebration. So,
so many Mother's Day.
So many Mother's Day celebrations, right?
Yeah, yes, we deserve it. To me, I would say that we truly deserve it because it's not easy being a mom.
Oh, it's easy being a man, Abby.
So Monica, they shouldn't begrudge us many Mother's Day celebrations.
Even the day that is Men's Day is added with another day, so it's fine. It's okay.
All right.
We're not going to fight about it.
No fight.
Right. Supportive ones. You guys try. So at least I'll give it to you. Like my husband, he tries. Sometimes, and when I want to be creative, I might be discouraged that, I don't like this design. And I show it to him and say, what do you think? And he's like, it's fine. What's your problem? Why don't you like it? I'm like, faking it. So it gives me that push, just try it out and see.
Shout out to all the good men.
Yeah, God bless all the good men. Monica Enoye is a designer and a mother. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thank you. Please follow us on Instagram, Munaya_FW. Thank you so much.
All right. When we return from this break, it'll be time to look at events planning in another space outside Nigeria. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Let's talk about events management. Yes, the people we put all our troubles on when we have to organize a thing or the other, they carry the burden. Well, we're going to be talking with someone outside our shores. He's joining us from Sheffield, the United Kingdom. Ola Badmus joins us via Zoom. Thank you so much, Mr. Badmus.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
You know, I started off by saying that you are the one that carries all our problems. So first, is that a fair description of your job? And how well do we need to trust you? I know why I made that reference.
Well, yeah, that makes sense, you know, because the duty of organizing and producing your events to suit whatever you want is definitely on my shoulder. So, yeah.
Tell us how challenging, because I would like to, I don't want to start from the glamour end. The glamour end is how much money you make. No. Let's start from the real work. So somebody walks up to you, and I've seen this, they're dealing with business people. Some clients are very difficult. Let's say what it is. Some clients are almost impossible to please. You say this, they say that. It's all. So how do you navigate different kinds of clients? And maybe give us an example of a client that was easy to deal with and a near impossible client, and how you walk through it, because that is going to be the good lesson here.
You know, for me, organizing events on this part of the country, you know, being a Nigerian in diaspora in UK is a bit very challenging, you know, because it's a new space, it's a new event, and having to meet up clients, and people need to first understand the fact that you won't run away with their money, which comes very, very challenging. So most of the times, people would rather want me to work for them, to impress them, you know, then they would say to me, like, my payments will come when they refer me. So it comes very, very, very challenging. But I think the way I've been able to navigate myself all through the journey is I have stand out from just creating an event for people to having my own event company, which has made it very, very easier. So I am able to create the kind of event I want, and the kind of audience I also want, you know. And with this, I've been able to create different brands under my event company. So when people reaches out to me that, oh, you know what, I want to have this kind of event, or I want something like this, do you have an experience? I easily send them my YouTube link and tell them to go check. This is something I did recently. My most experience was working, I call them older Nigerians, you know, because they kind of like make the job not too easier for us to do. And those are like people that has been in UK for over like 20, 30 years, you know, working with them, and they come with, oh, I know a lot of people that will refer you to. So because basically what I say to people is I charge 25% of their event budget, for an instance, a wedding. But when I work with this set of people, they are ready to pay me as low as £150, you know, because they believe that I am a striving Nigerian who is just starting up. But over the years, I have been able to create my own community, where I have created over 45 events, writing different narrations to suit the African culture, you know, and just fusing it into the UK culture. And under this, I have done the likes of Ankara Festival, I have done Niger Food Fair, Carnival, I have done the trade fair, you know, and all of this has really helped me, you know, grow from just a random event planner. And this is, I can remember a time, because sometimes I hold the mic and, you know, do MC, and I can remember a time when some audiences were, some people were going to book me, you know, for their event, and their deposit was meant to be about £200, and, you know, they went far to say, oh, if we pay you this money, hope you won't run away, you know. And I was in my head, I was like, you know what, I've got a profile, I've got a portfolio. Search me on Google. My name is Olabamdele Badmus. Search me up on Google, you know. And they came back, and the man was like, oh yeah, I'm happy to pay you a full money. So it's very challenging, being a new setup, being someone who is trying to craft his own niche in the industry, you know, and working with external. So when I realized that working with people and trying to create a space for myself, you know, to create like an impression, when I realized that it was really, really hard, I found it easier to craft my own niche, which is creating my own event company. So if I'm not getting job as your event planner, I am doing my own job as an event planner, creating an event for people to attend.
Ola, I'd just like to, you know, give you a word of caution there. The younger ones back home who are hearing you calling pounds, you'll just be sliding into your DM right now. We're asking you to send something to them back home.
No, we're good, don't worry.
You know, but it speaks to the Nigerian spirit of resilience, what you're doing in the UK. And, you know, just putting it in a mental picture, when you're home, it's easy to, over time, gather a network of, okay, the police commissioner in this area, the DPO in this area, if you need security, the local government administration officials, if you need some form of support in terms of using their space. But you are in an environment that is totally different and thousands of miles away from home. Help us understand a bit further how you were able to break into that circle. And perhaps while you're doing that, you could also talk about, how your events management business helps you to empower other Nigerians too, who are trying to look for jobs, in the UK.
Okay, the first thing is, moving into the UK and realizing that the only business that everybody seems to do here is healthcare. I said to myself the very first day that I'm going to do something different, and I went into the event space because there's that opportunity to grow, in the event space of creating event for Nigerians, so everybody aboard, and moving into this country where people had a lot of expectations, and we are just met by the reality, which is that you have to go through it. So there was that space of me, creating it. The challenging part of me putting it together is the part of funding, because UK, you need to go through the whole rules of doing this registration, getting the certification and all. I had to sacrifice myself, my happiness, which is I had to work extra jobs. There was a time for an entire 1 year where I was working a 9 to 5 and an 8 to 8, and I did that Monday to Friday for 1 year. I had that motivation. I just wanted to do it, so that I could get more. And also, I at some point I did, try to look for fundings, sponsors, but it's a new thing. People would not believe in it until it gets well. And the part where I've been able to create a space for other Nigerians. So I grew from going from an event planner, just a club, a show organizer, to carving my niche and realizing that we need to promote the African culture in the UK. So I first, sat down, wrote my career progression in 2 years, 3 years. This is where I really want to be. So I went from someone that randomly creates a club event to now organizing events such as I did an event sometimes in 2022, which is Sheffield Award. It's called Yagi Award, which is Young and Getting It, which is to organize and recognize the African, the Nigerian vendors and businesses in Sheffield together. And that event had over 200 people. Then from that event, I was able to do a trade fair, and the first trade fair had 2 people. People would always want to see for you to create, then they will believe in you, then, work with you. Then the next one I did, I had 10 vendors, then I went back and rewrote my assignment, and I said, what, there's an opportunity for this thing to grow. I just need to show people that this thing can grow, and the fact that I need to work extra miles, I need to do extra content, I need to go inside the bush sometimes just to create content so that people can believe that, okay, this guy, what you're doing, and we believe in the mandate, So the last I think the last part which I knew that I now have a community. I have a community over 200 vendors right now, and the last trade fair I did, I had 45 vendors, and we had an head count of 1,276 attendees, that came for the trade fair. And you've questioned me about mentioning the pounds, but I can't go without mentioning the fact that a single sales from one of the vendors, she said to me and asked me to not to ever disclose her identity. She said she made £8,075 from that particular trade fair. So I have been able to create a niche for vendors in particular, because everybody moved into the country, everybody has whatever it is they were doing back in Nigeria before they moved to UK, and we can't close it. And the part of getting a shop, registering your business, setting up, it's very, very hard. So if not, why not? If I have the community, if I have the network for people to come together, if it is once in a year or twice in a year, to do a sales. So the event is called the Marketplace Party, and I have been to different trade fair. I realized that people just go to trade fair, they look around and go. So one thing I did with my event planning skills was, let's create an entertainment in the trade fair, so that when people comes in, they don't just scan through and they leave. There's a way for them to come back, for them to stay back. So for that particular trade fair, what I always do is I get a live band on board, or I get some DJs, some drummers, and people stay back. I would say my highlight for this year was the Nigeria Food Carnival that we had had in July. And yeah, I would also like to say that this event has been me working extra miles, and bringing money from my personal book. I was saying to someone recently that if I had kept up this money, I'd have bought a house in UK. Well, I need to create an impression. It is something I wanted to like grow, for me to earn later in future. So the Nigeria Food Carnival, we had 17 food vendors. We had over like 400 people turnover for it.
Apparently, you have a lot to say. I think one of the things I like about you is that you're excited with what you do. I think it was Dave Chappelle that was talking to Trevor Noah and said, I did not invite you for my event because you're funny. I invited you because you're interesting. And I can say that about you. You look and sound interesting, and it's quite commendable. Let's also talk about low points, the points where you felt like, oh, nah, why now? Why should I be stressing myself like this? This, as you said, could have used this money to buy a house or property in the UK or pay mortgage or whatever. So tell us about the low points.
My low point, I won't go deep, but I'll talk about it, is a part of the family expectation, because when everybody moves, there is this expectation of you. And I can't always explain to everybody, like, this is what I am building until when it actualizes. One of my low points was a time when I had an event. The whole planning took a toll on me. And when I say a toll, like it took an any of over like 2 months, for me to put it together. And this day came. I got to the venue at 8 p.m. expecting people to turn up for about 9 p.m., 10 p.m. and nobody showed up. Nobody showed up. Nobody came to the venue. It was just me, the DJ, and the hype man. And I stood there until about 3 a.m. Nobody showed up. I went back to cry. At the peak of my career of the event, I said to myself at the end of November, which was 2024, and that was 3 years ago, that if I don't amount to anything, if I look at myself and I don't feel like there is anything for the future, I was going to accept defeat and enter 2025 as a loser, and that was because I had like a peak. But looking into it, checking my summary, what I have done so far, at the end of the last event we had, which was the 30th of November, the Ankara Festival, and doing a summary of what I have been up to, I realized that over it, I've been able to build a community of Nigerians in South Yorkshire. There was over 400 people. Nigerian vendors in Sheffield, that has over 200 people. I've been able to build an event community that has 500 people in it. And my summary of people who has attended my event over 3 years has been 3,446. And I said, okay, yeah, this 3,400 and something, they cannot be foolish. They are seeing something in it and they want to keep coming. So yeah, 2025 seems great, and yeah, I look forward to it.
Amazing. So I'd like you to speak to young Nigerians who are watching you and are probably like afraid of delving into that space. I'd like you to speak to them about how you're able to handle all of those downsides. And I imagine that there are other, challenges that you have not mentioned.
Okay, yeah, I do have other challenges that I've not mentioned. I remember there was a point in time when someone said to me that they think my event is too Nigerian, and for that reason they won't come. And it was not just one person, it was like a group of people, and it's really so bad that when they see me on the street, they don't even greet me because they're like, we're not interested in your event, The advice I like to give to people, there's a mantra that has kept me going. There's something I always say that if the dream does not belong to Joseph, God will not show Joseph, So if you believe in it, if you see that you can do it. Recently, last weekend, I launched my African store, which is a progression for me. It's a progression from not just doing events, but now doing business, selling African foodstuffs. And it's a risk for me, but I am positive about it. And another thing I also like to say to any young Nigerian out there is that hold on to your mandate, hold on to it, be positive about it, and whatever it is that you want to do, ensure you love it first, fall in love with it first before going into it.
Your story is quite inspirational, and I can tell that you know where you're going to. Just keep at it, keep believing in it, keep believing and keep going. I wish you the very best. Ola Badmus, who is an event planner and manager. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to talk with an Afrobeat artist. Join us again. Segun Victor Oyeko joins us. He's an Afrofusion artist. Segun, thank you so much for coming. When I saw your son-in-law, I was remembering what's this guy's name that was signed to Chocolate City now? That's an Ole Cool. Tell me something way I know if you do. Brimo, yeah, I remember. How you doing? All right, maybe you can help us unmute your device because we can't hear you. Check if you can hear me. Just unmute your device. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. So I was saying, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
We're doing pretty well. So Afrofusion, this Afro thing has all kinds of variation. So which is Afrofusion now?
Afrofusion is like a mix of. I don't actually make Afro beats here, so I sometimes mix hip hop. Whatever. So Afrofusion is just like a fusion of everything that comes with Afrobeat.
So in your view, in your books as a musician, what is really the African sound? Because there's still that, I know they boxed us into Afrobeat, but there's a lot going on. For instance, the person we see as the master or the legend of Afrobeat, the songs will say it's not Afrobeats, it's Afrobeat, is Fela. So what he did was he took James Brown kind of sound in America, added a bit of high life from Ghana, and made a blend of a lot of things to create the kind of music that we're celebrating for many years after his past. So for you, what is African sound? Because there's a Amapiano, there is the one we play in Nigeria. What is really the African sound? Do we have an African sound?
For me, I would say African sound is not basically a sound. I think it's a culture, like a culture, wherever comes from. Africa has its culture, dance steps, move, what we sound like, how we talk. So I feel like African music is basically like just that culture, just having the culture and talking about where you're from. So it comes from the beat. Everything about African music is different. So it's like it's in the culture. It's not really just a sound. So it's like a cultural thing. So that's how I say Afrobeats, African music.
So, Victor, tell us what's your inspiration, which artists you draw your inspiration from, and how different really is Afrofusion from Afro Soul? Because some would say that what they do is Afro Soul.
I feel like Afro Soul is more like a South African sound. For me, Afro Soul is like a South African sound. My inspiration is from where I'm from. Where I'm from is Kaduna State, and that's where I was born. That's not I'm a Yoruba boy, but I was born here. So for me, that's what inspires me, just being born here. Because I always ask myself, why was I born in this place? Why did my family come here? So for me, it's like it inspires me to be able to speak for people in Kaduna State, for me to be able to do shows, make music, and at least be a voice for where I'm from. So for me, that's my inspiration. My inspiration comes from the people.
So tell us, the music you do, when you create your sound, do you create your sound just for young people or for people between around a certain age? And how? The reason I'm struggling to get this correctly. Okay, let me put it differently. There are people that are creating sound for now. There are people that are creating sound that will be evergreen. And we've seen that a lot of people, from what we see they do, it's just a momentary sound, like a flash in the pan kind of sound. Yeah. What kind of sound do you like to create? And how do you ensure that it's not just for now? That is, if you're doing something evergreen.
Yeah, so for me, I feel as long as my music is true, as long as I'm speaking reality, I'm speaking what I'm going through in my life, a lot of people relate to me, but mostly it's like people from my age group or people younger than me, just people around this age group that relate to me more, because we basically have same daily lives, like what I go through, a lot of people go through them. So as long as I'm real, it's like real life, as long as I talk about my real life, I will always have people that connect to it. So it's, for me, I feel it's evergreen, because forever people are always going to feel what they feel, and people are always going to be in real life. So as long as I'm true to my art, I feel like it's going to be evergreen.
And so I'd like you to talk to us about how prepared you are for the industry. And I'm going to put the question in context. So we see time and again how, artists are in their prime and they make great music, and they're signed on to partnerships with record companies, that make available all of the perks, but somehow along the line there is a falling out, between the artists and the record companies. And sometimes, the story is that the artist is not prepared for the music business, because there's the creative aspect of it and there's the music business aspect of it. So how prepared are you to navigate that very challenging space and still retain your creativity and, a compelling success story?
For me, it's basically just like a path, it's a road. So I feel like as long as I walk through the path, I prepare my mind basically like daily. I don't like to say that, oh, I'm fully prepared for like next year or for 3 years time. I feel like if I'm prepared today, then I'm prepared tomorrow, the next, and so I just like to prepare myself on a daily basis. Like every day I wake up and I make a change. So like as long as I'm making that change every single day, and I feel like whenever I get to where I'm going to, on that same day I'll be prepared. So I feel like that's how I see it.
Tell us about doing music in Kaduna, and can you speak a bit of, is it Fulani or Hausa now?
Yeah, I can speak both, because I have family friends that are Fulani, and so I know how to speak Fulani. But then Hausa is like a general language here in Kaduna. Growing up in making music in Kaduna is very difficult. I've met a lot of people that will tell me to go to Lagos, just that the industry here is not all that. But I've heard a lot of sounds, and my own sound came from here. Like I was born here and I developed my sound from this same place. So I don't see it's not a place, because for me to be born here, for me to have a sound here, it means so much. So I feel like it's just going to take time for the industry. And then there's cultural barriers. Where there are Muslim people and there are Christian people, then there are Kaduna South people and then Kaduna North people. So it's divided in different ways. But now what we are trying to do is just merge everybody together for us to come together as one and have a voice like other states. I feel like there are a lot of people, great people in Lagos, that have contributed to the Lagos industry that were from Kaduna, just because Kaduna didn't have an audience, or probably they didn't have the right channel to put in their work, so they took it to Lagos and they contributed to the Lagos industry, or they were from Kaduna State and they were born in Kaduna State. So
we can't live without at least having a feel of your sound, even if it's for 30 seconds. So your time starts. 30 seconds.
Okay, so I came from a place that suffered violence. Came no the head for just silence. Came for the streets and their violence. And we dey pray for the day we go see the sunset. Beat down people for my concert. Allah skill on I be prophet. And I know see life now turn by turn. But I go the para till it reach my turn. See my fire can cool, cause my fire must burn. And mommy they have, she dey pray for her son. I know say some of them no believe me. Looking at the chain like the shackle no believe me. Blood in my eyes cause my vision getting tricky. Tell them make them feel me. Lighting on my candle that the sign of the spirit, boy.
Good one, nice one. Quite conscious. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Victor, oh yeah, cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, and Happy New Year in advance. Thank you.
Same to you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. God
Keep
bless.
the good work.
Yeah, so we feel the Afrofusion.
Yeah, I can feel
music.
the Afrofusion. So it's a mix of rap, mix of beats and all of that. So beautiful. Guys, that's it on today's edition of the program. And for the year 2024. When next we see you is going to be 2025, which is just hours away. So thank you so much. 1 year down the line since the program started, you've been great company. You've trusted us to be the best of your morning. They'll bring you the best of your mornings in terms of programming. Thank you, and thank you. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Bye-bye.
Congratulations, you made it into 2025. We'll see you in 2025. Don't forget, Sunrise Daily is up next. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.